and have that information that way. Um, so, as a next step before we get started, I'm going to ask all of the students who are on the call to go into the chat and introduce yourself. Type in your name, your major, where you at in your program. Are you a sophomore, junior? And if you're a job seeker now, what are you looking for? Are you an internship? Are you graduating? What's your situation? So please go into the chat now and put that in. And now I'm going to turn it over to our guest from KUKA, and I'll let you, Ed, introduce yourself and share what you would like to share.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. I really appreciate it. And it's good that we're not expecting a lecture because I'm not a very good lecturer. So, but I do have a short presentation that I will give, start up in a second here, just to at least introduce you to KUKA. I know that probably the majority of you are already familiar with KUKA. But as Kathy said, my name is Ed Volsick. I am responsible for our industry management team here at KUKA Robotics US. And the industry management team is really kind of a business development and a technical development group, which supports our sales organization and supports developing new technologies for potential customers and partners that we have. Myself, I have been with KUKA now for 20 plus years, maybe 25 years. In fact, some of you may have class with Dr. Khalid Mirza. I worked with him many years ago very closely, so I know him well. But yeah, I've been with KUKA for a number of years in a lot of different capacities. Really, I started out on the technical side, doing development for our control system, and then getting more involved in application development. And later, I did a lot of work in our entertainment space, working on our RoboCoaster robot for some of the big rides that we have worked on throughout industry, the Walt Disneys and the Universals. So I have a lot of really neat and fun experience there. And then I managed our application engineering team for a number of years, and now I'm responsible for the industry management side of our organization. So I will just, before I jump into the presentation, the one thing I will kind of comment on, I've been with KUKA for many years, and the one thing that really keeps me going at KUKA is that we get exposed to a lot of really interesting and neat new technologies. So there's always something new, something driving us kind of forward. You're not doing the same thing. And some days it feels like you're doing some similar things, but it's you're always tackling new problems, new technologies. So it makes it really a lot of fun, and there's definitely a great workplace, a great place to work. A lot of really good colleagues, a lot of smart colleagues, and what's interesting also is that we have a lot of colleagues that have been here for many years as well. So that to me speaks a lot about our organization here and our group that we work with. So what I'm going to do is share my screen. Make sure I have let's go to that. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, that looks good.
Okay, perfect. So this is a little bit of a general kind of introduction to KUKA for those of you who are not familiar with KUKA as much. And then I'll quickly talk about a little bit about our product portfolio, what we have in the marketplace right now. And at the end, I'll touch on the Augmented Reality Center, which Kathy had mentioned, as well as what we're looking for and what potential projects could look like for an internship. Okay, so let's start here. So KUKA is an industry leader in smart automation. Really, we are part of the robotics group here that you see on the left. But overall, KUKA has a number of different groups that are part of the organization. So we have a KUKA Systems group. The KUKA Systems group is responsible primarily for automotive line builds and developing big lines for large OEM automotive customers. And we have our Swisslog Logistics group. They're responsible for warehouse development, automating warehouses, moving product through warehouses. Our Swisslog Healthcare group, which is about medication management, hospital management systems. And then finally, separate to the KUKA Robotics group is our KUKA China group, which is responsible for supplying robots and equipment to China. And I didn't really touch too much on robotics, but our group here is responsible for bringing KUKA robots to the market in North America and helping customers develop solutions and then supporting those robots in the field from a programming, training, and service perspective. So here you see some of the focus industries that we're in. Automotive, that's the historical automation world. Everybody knows that we have a lot of robots running in the automotive world, but we also have a lot of robots in electronics, general industry, which makes up all kinds of different types of processes, e-commerce and retail, consumer goods, and healthcare. Now, KUKA is a global company, so we have a footprint really all over the globe. And in North America, we have offices in Canada, in the US, here in Shelby Township, and Mexico. But we also have KUKA Systems here in Sterling Heights. We have a production plant that we are responsible for in Toledo. That's the KTPO, or the KUKA Toledo Production Organization, which is responsible for building the Jeep Gladiator body in white. And of course, we have lots of subsidiaries throughout Europe, as well as our headquarters, which are based in Augsburg, Germany, and China, as well as Australia, South Africa. So we have really a global footprint. Okay, so robots really are, we're seeing them used in more and more advanced applications. So that's what's really been interesting for me over the time that I've spent in this industry. The types of things that we are automating now compared to what we were automating 10 or even 5 years ago is incredible. So KUKA, the KUKA Robotics business unit does a lot of advanced robotics development. So you have your robots, which we have a very large portfolio of robots. We build up customized manufacturing cells for specific customers, standard cells, which we can sell to multiple customers or industries that solve different problems. And we also develop smart software and then put it all together. We support it through our customer service organization. This is just a little kind of view into our customer service group. We do all kinds of work there, from engineering, field service, I mentioned college earlier, to rebuilding and modernizing robots, as well as digital services. So I'm gonna go through this kind of quickly here. Most of you probably have seen some of the robots that we have, but we have over 300 robots in our portfolio. You'll see here on the very right, come our small robots, which are used in industries where you're picking smaller objects, but needing to move them very fast, very quickly. All the way up to, on the left-hand side, our Titan robot, which is capable of holding up to 1,000-kilogram payload, moving car bodies around, things like that. And then we have all kinds of variants for those robots. High accuracy, where you need to have very high accuracy motions and positioning. Foundry, where you have very tough conditions for the robots to work in, clean room, food grade, and hygienic robots. Again, a closer look at some of the products, and I won't touch too many on those, but you'll see at the bottom here, in addition to the robots that we have, in addition to the robots, we also have our mobile platform, and our mobile platform includes our KMP, which is our KUKA mobile products, and our mobile robots as well. KUKA has a footprint in a lot of different industries: automotive, castings, electronics, medical, tier 1, and advanced welding systems. And here we offer anything from robots all the way up to tailored lines. And this slide really, it kind of repeats that theme of our large portfolio, but taking that portfolio that you see on the left there, the robots, using those as the building blocks to build solutions at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to automate and do something with the robots, and the robots aren't just the only interesting part of the solution. So here are a couple of examples of different applications that we have. These kind of picking, packing type applications, palletizing, and we are able to implement and solve those problems with a variety of different software tools that we offer. Our simulation software, our vision software, and so on. So let me just now kind of briefly touch on the summer internship. As Kathy mentioned at the beginning, Oakland University is starting up an augmented reality center, and we're very proud to be a part of that of the center. So we're very excited to be able to contribute in a technical way, in a resource way for the new augmented reality center. So this is a creative and immersive lab where engineering, science, art students, everybody comes together to explore augmented reality. And this is really a field that in a few years will be exploding. We see a lot of opportunities there for developing new and exciting technologies. So KUKA is building expertise in this exciting emerging field, and we look to identify different possible projects that can, I think, match nicely to what you're doing with the Augmented Reality Center. So we're really, again, excited to be part of it and excited to work with students over the coming years as it relates to this center. So for the internship, there are a number of different projects that we have in the pipeline that we're looking at. One is to potentially support some of the KUKA engineers in the fabrication and build of some of our demonstration cells and really helping to develop some things for our competency center. Another area is to support KUKA in areas related to KUKA's mobile platform. So I touched on our mobility product. This is kind of an AGV type of platform, and there's a lot of interesting software development projects that we could get involved with. And then finally, we want to work on projects related to augmented reality. So trying to apply augmented reality into how we work today, whether it's from a programming perspective, from a service perspective, and so on. So what are the skills that we're looking for? We're looking for a student who's completed at least their sophomore year in an engineering capacity or computer science. Experience with programming is very helpful and required for us. We want somebody who knows Java, C# or C++, somebody who has some experience in programming. A strong background in math, physics is very helpful. And of course, someone who can work in a team, but also is able to focus and work independently to get tasks done, because you're going to be part of a larger application engineering team or a technical team. But in today's day, where we're all working remotely, there's not going to be as much face-to-face interaction. It'll be more virtual interactions, and we need somebody who's able to work independently and get things done. And then finally, the last thing is a love of new technology, robotics, programming, and just really a keen interest to learn. I think that's something that we're looking for someone to just be excited to get into this field. And yeah, that's basically my presentation, a little kind of a dive into KUKA and what we're about. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to ask. I'm just looking for the chat as well.
Feel free to unmute yourself. I think that we've got some time here and you can ask your question if you'd like. You can also type it in, but feel free and unmute and ask your question too.
Hi, this is Catherine, and I was just like wondering, you mentioned how you worked with like Disney and like non-automotive people in the beginning of your
Sure,
talk.
sure.
So can you like talk more about what you do, like that aspect of your work?
Yeah, if you can Google KUKA Robocoaster, and you'll see one of our entertainment products there, where we put or mount let's say a seat or a gondola to a robot, and the robot is used as a motion base to move people around. And what's neat about that is that a little bit of motion couple that with some kind of video, sound, or show sets, really creates an incredible experience. And so yeah, I was the main project engineer here in the U.S. That was responsible for initially some of the design components associated with KUKA, and then ultimately the integration and startup on site at our customers. And these systems are running now all around the world. It's a pretty cool project, and I got exposed to a lot of different things, from programming to really some of the deeper technical aspects, doing FEAs, kind of structural analysis on the whole robot, and looking at the control systems and safety systems, because safety, it's very critical to ensure that all the passengers are safe, that there are no safety issues. So you're constantly have an eye and look out for those types of things, and then working out mitigations and designing around any issues that might be there.
Cool. Thank you. One other question is,
Mhm.
can you speak more a little bit to like your background and like what your skill set was like before going into KUKA, and then like all the things that you've learned while working at KUKA as well?
Sure. So I studied systems design engineering in university, and that was a little bit of everything. So I got exposed to mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, computer engineering, computer science. So I had a little bit of everything, and I was fortunate that I was part of a co-op program. So I had every 4 months I was taking on different work projects in industry. So I came out with a pretty good programming background, as well as a lot of exposure to different facets of engineering. And then when I came to is actually before I came to KUKA, I came to a small company that ended up being bought out by KUKA. But we were developing at that time an open robot motion controller, and so I was working on various implementation activities associated with that. And then over the time, I just, for me, I just got involved in a lot of different things. Whenever there was an opportunity to get into something new from a technical perspective, I just did. I wanted to learn as much as I could and try different things. And so I wasn't afraid of jumping in. And so I got to see a lot of different areas and a lot of different things.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question too. So, hi, I'm Nader Mirza. So you mentioned that KUKA is also starting to work with the Augmented Reality Center and is stepping into augmented reality. So with the summer internship, would that also be with augmented reality, since KUKA is now working with that?
I do expect that we will be doing more augmented reality type projects. For us, this is really just kicking off, and we're just starting to build up our competency in that as well. So we're going through a learning curve at the moment, but I'm really excited to see what types of projects we do get involved with in the future. And we do have ideas and thoughts right now where we want to explore. And so those are potential projects that could come up. Oops, sorry, I can't hear. I'm not sure if it's a little bit quiet.
Hello, can you hear me?
Not very well.
Hello, how about now?
Oh, perfect.
Hello, Jordan Rebar here. I just wanted to piggyback off of Catherine's question for a second. And what was your best experience working for KUKA?
That's a good question. There's a lot of good experiences, lots of interesting challenges. I don't know that I could pick one best one. It seems, every year I've got some interesting things and interesting challenges that I have to that I get engaged with and involved with. And but I will say that the team I get to work with is a really good team, and that's really important to have a good sets of good colleagues, a team that you can work closely with, and be free to say what things what's on your mind, speak your opinion, and I think that's really important. It's a good culture to work in.
Yeah, I totally agree. Team always makes, most of
Mm-hmm.
what it is working. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I had a quick question. For your since KUKA's robotics based. Have you gotten a lot of experiences in applying it in different fields? Like I know that you can apply. I guess you personally have you used it in not only the entertainment, like the amusement park and rides and stuff, but have you also used it in medical scenarios as well?
Yeah, actually, I've been involved in all kinds of different industries. I did a lot of work early on in packaging, palletizing, the palletizing world. I've done a lot of work also in automotive and tier one, so using robots for spot welding, for material handling, sealing, and so on. Absolutely, we've done a number of projects in medical as well. We have some very interesting partners that are developing different medical processes and systems associated in using our robots as a base.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Mhm.
Ed, we've got a few questions in the chat. I don't want to miss out. I know you may not be able to see the chat based on how you're logged in. So if it's okay, I'll address those really quick. A couple have been related to whether or not the internship will be virtual or will there be plans possibly at some point in the summer to return to in person, or could it be a combination of both?
I think likely it'll be a combination. I know that I think that the governor has basically said that I think they've extended the work from home if possible for like the next 6 months. So I can imagine we're going to still have a very heavy virtual component to it, but with our systems, we don't have robots at home, so we still need to get to the lab. We still need to get to our facility to do some of the hands-on work. So that's why I say I do expect that there will be a mix.
Mhm.
And,
Okay.
and hopefully things improve as people get more people get vaccinated. So I'm excited to start to see people again in the workplace.
Okay, and I think you've kind of already covered this, but if you think there's anything else that you could add, a couple people had asked, what are the expectations for an intern kind of on a day-to-day basis? And you kind of talked about it, but is there anything else you feel that you would want to add to what you've already shared?
Yeah, expectations on a daily basis. Of course, we would like to find somebody who is motivated and able to keep focused on kind of tasks and explore tasks. But from a day-to-day perspective, it'll be typical business hours. And when in the lab, you'll have an opportunity to play with, I shouldn't play with, but work with different pieces of equipment, robots. Also, I would expect that over the summer, there'll be opportunity to get involved in various, let's say, we have our KUKA College, which does training. So we'll have some training exposure as well to learn about operation and use of our systems. And then from working with our team, likely the student will be working closely with one of our senior engineers in terms of getting assignments and reviewing what was completed and how things are going, how things are progressing.
Perfect, thank you.
Mhm.
I have one more question for you, Ed. It's exciting to hear that you guys are, KUKA's opening up into augmented reality. I was wondering if you guys are expanding into any other fields as well, any other technological fields.
Yeah, there's always KUKA's always pushing the forefront of technology. I mean, I would say KUKA is a technology company first, and we're always looking at new products, new opportunities for automation, new opportunities to work with key customers that have some specific solutions or gaps that they have in their automation and things that they want to automate. Now, on the software side, we have some really interesting initiatives centered around AI and machine learning, but that's all taking place at our corporate headquarters where the majority of our software development is done. Here in the US, we're going to be more application focused, although we do some development from a regionalization perspective, because we may have specific customers in the US or in North America that have some different requirements or different needs that need to be met than our team in Germany or our team in Europe or in other places of the world, China, for example, and so on.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I'd like to interject something here for the students on the call. Um, if you don't know this, although I think many of you do, the position that he's been speaking about is posted in Handshake. And if you are interested in being considered for an interview, you need to apply right away. Don't think about it. You need to apply because I imagine that the team is anxious to, looking at applications and deciding who will be interviewed. And then my follow-up comment to that is, Ed, could you speak about like what kinds of things on a resume or what kinds of things in an interview make somebody jump out as a candidate? We have students in this call who probably have varying degrees of experience, like some, have Professor Mirza's class. And so they're really starting to dive deep into some of these things. Some might be earlier on and they haven't had Professor Mirza's class. Do you want to hear about first robotics experience? What are you interested in knowing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I love to see information about what projects you've been involved with, what types of technologies you've touched upon in those projects. I'd like to see and hear about your ability to work in a team, to work with others. I'd love to hear about, if I can hear about kind of innovations or neat projects and also difficult problems that you might have overcome. I think I'm always looking to hear about your challenges and how you solved those, because that's for me it's really important to be able to persevere, because not everything comes easy, and sometimes you really have to really work hard to get over an obstacle. And so when I can get that sense in somebody's background, I think that's a really important piece to the type of people that we're looking for in this role and ultimately long term.
That's great. I have one follow-up question, and this might not really be exactly your area, but maybe you can speak generally to it. When we told the students about this event with KUKA, and we primarily were talking about the internship, we also talked about the training instructor position, which is a full-time opportunity for somebody, who is graduating or has graduated.
Yeah.
In case there's anybody on the call who's interested in that, even though it might not be your primary role, can you speak about it?
Yeah, I could speak a little bit about it. So as part of our service organization, we have the KUKA College, and KUKA College is responsible for delivering high quality training on our robot systems, robot software, maintenance, operations, and so we have classes that are ongoing regularly. They're typically 1 week long to 2 week long classes that are offered throughout the year. So an instructor would normally lead these classes over the course of a week. There's both kind of classroom components where they're giving presentations to people in the class, explaining technology, explaining whatever it is that they're teaching in that particular week, and then also hands-on components where they're helping students learn programming, or if it's maintenance, troubleshooting in electrical systems or mechanical systems. But it's really a hands-on instructor type of role where you're dealing with a wide variety of students from all kinds of different industries on a daily basis. And then when there aren't classes, the team is working within the college, working on equipment, maybe improving things, updating technology, investigating different classes or learning new classes, things like that'll ultimately be taught to students in the future.
Great, thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
And what I'm interpreting from that, and you can tell me if I'm correct or not, is that some people, when they see training instructor, they don't think that's for an engineer, but really, it sounds like you would be using your engineering skills quite a bit.
Yeah, so there are some classes that go into very deep technical topics. Certainly at the one end, we have our operations, which are basic, how do I use the robot and how do I jog it? Then you have programming classes, which teach you about the KUKA robot language, the syntax, the logic, how to create and structure programs. And at the very far end, we have a Java-based application training, which are kind of high-end programming languages where you need a lot of technical depth. And in any one of those classes, even some of the very, let's say, I would say less technical classes, you're still going to have a lot of technical interaction with the students that are in the class, because they come from a wide variety of backgrounds. It could be an automotive, and then medical and aerospace. You'll see a lot of different students from a wide variety of backgrounds with lots of interesting questions, and oftentimes the students are asking the instructors, how do I solve this problem? How do I'm trying to do this. How do I accomplish that with your robot? And so you do start to lean on your engineering skills throughout the class on a regular basis.
Thank you for that. I think that that's very helpful you gave some tremendous details that I think will help people better understand that. Do any of the students on the call have any other questions?
I've got a question. My name's David. So my question to you is, what do you like about your job that is unique to KUKA?
What do I like about my job that is unique to KUKA? Yeah, there are lots and lots of things that I do like about it. Again, I kind of come to the technology side and how things have changed so much, and I would say with KUKA, it's kind of, it has a reputation as an engineer's robot, and there's a lot of neat things that you can do with it. There are a lot of interfaces that are there that really allow you to do some interesting applications. I think that gets people really excited when you look at some of the things that we have done, where I think that others just won't want to get into. So I think that's really exciting, and I think that's what I enjoy.
Thank you.
I have a follow-up question to something that you shared earlier. KUKA has customers across a lot of different industries, and probably in Metro Detroit, it's heavily automotive, but when you get across the country, it could be all kinds of things. And sometimes we'll have students will say, I'd like to explore something beyond automotive. I'd really like to work in something like medical or some other area. How does that work when you form a career? Certainly it's not going to happen when you're an intern, but say you're an intern and you've graduated and now you're launching your career as an engineer at KUKA. Can you specialize in a certain industry, or can you influence what kinds of projects you might get working on if you have an interest in a certain industry?
Yeah, that's also a really good question. Yes, you can absolutely influence it by everybody has interests in different areas, and sometimes people want to explore where they're really interested, whether it's mobility, where you have these vehicles that are guided automatically, and so you want to get into that type of an area, and you have a strong background in Java, so that it makes sense that you get involved in that type of a field. But I would say in general, when people join our application engineering team or our sales application engineering team, we tend not to, let's say, focus on specializing in any area. It's more about, at least from my perspective, it's the fundamentals of the robot system. So programming, the controls, understanding the architecture, and when you have a very good, strong fundamental basis, you can jump really into any fields. And there's so many fields that you'll get exposed to a lot of different areas. So yes, some people later on become a little bit more focused on specific technologies, let's say vision or on the medical side. There is that opportunity, but early on, I think it's mostly pretty broad-based, because you're going to get exposed to a lot of different things. And I do recommend always for our team to, Automotive is really interesting because in those spaces you see a lot of robots and you see a lot of problems really quickly. So you get to see a lot. And there's a lot of challenging applications in automotive as well. And it's all applicable to other industries as well. But recently, I think just in the last years, overall, the robotic industry, it used to be very heavily automotive, where more than half of the robots went into automotive. I think it's just flipped now the other way, where more robots are going into general industry. And that speaks to the types of things that we're getting involved with and where technology is going. It's exposing a lot of new areas to automation that maybe wouldn't have been done in the past.
And I have,
Hello.
I'm
Sorry, go ahead.
No, please go ahead, Greta.
Okay, thank you. So I have a question regarding, I'm bioengineering graduate student, and I'm still looking for opportunities, and I was looking at KUKA, and I was just wondering what would be a good start for a bioengineering grad? How would a bioengineering grad fit into the KUKA company?
So we have, we talked a little bit about medical, and in the medical, I think that a bioengineering background is very helpful. In fact, we have one of our application engineers has a bio background and is very heavily involved in medical and heavily involved with working with customers on applying our robot technology to solving some of the problems in that space. And with any background, if you have a good you have capabilities within programming, understanding technology, then you can easily jump into these different fields.
Sounds great, thank you. And when you say programming, like what specific languages are you looking for? Because recently I'm using LinkedIn Premium to learn new courses. I've learned C#, Java, Python, and these common languages that we use in the engineering from OU. But I've also started learning from LinkedIn at this time. So what would stand out for someone who's looking for picking the candidates?
Yeah, I think all those languages you mentioned there, C#, Python, Java, those are all very prevalent for us. And our robot language is really kind of a structured language that is similar to like Visual Basic and something like that. So the languages you talk about, those are all used widely within different projects that we have. And so any one of those experience in those areas is definitely an asset.
Okay, thank you so much. And also one last question. So do you prefer just I will be applying for full-time positions, but I wouldn't mind to start with an internship as an intern either. So do you prefer to have grad students starting as interns, or you would just prefer to have students that are people that are students currently to be interns?
That's a good question. I don't know that I've given that thought, but I don't think that I think for internships, for me personally, I would probably this echoes throughout the organization. I think that that anybody really could work in an internship, whether it's a grad or somebody who is a student. So I guess I would say I don't necessarily have a strong preference.
I hear,
Thank you so much.
I think I saw a question in the chat from Ryan. Can you see that, Kelly?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Yep. So Ed, we do have some students that are joining a little later, so you may have covered this already, just kind of as an FYI.
No
But
problem.
the question was, how big is the branch office? Kind of like a size for your, I guess, your main office in the area. And then is your personal customer base more local or far reaching?
Oh, yeah, good questions. So our U.S. operations are out of Shelby Township, Michigan here. And overall, we have, let's say, roughly 120 people working out of this office. Now, we have a number that are remotely located throughout the U.S. And quite frankly, we have customers all over the U.S. So we have certainly lots in Michigan, but we also have customers in California, Texas, Florida. I mean, you name it, probably every state we have customers. So at least on our application engineering team and our service engineering team, those engineers are often visiting customer sites to work on projects. You definitely get to see a wide variety of new places as well as new customers and applications.
There was one more question, and I probably could take a guess at your answer to this. The question was, do you have any full-time opportunities? And I know there's the one that's posted in Handshake, the training. I would assume that a great place to go would be your website and the careers page on your website to look for entry-level opportunities. Is that what you would recommend?
Yeah, or LinkedIn. I think we have some postings on LinkedIn. We're currently looking for people in our field service engineering group, our application engineering group, and our college. Excuse me. So we have openings in on all of those areas, and I think they're mostly posted on through LinkedIn.
Perfect. And so as a reminder for those of you who are considering applying to those positions through LinkedIn, obviously you need to have a LinkedIn profile, and then just as important, once you have a profile, you want to make sure it's strong, because if you're applying through LinkedIn, they're going to be looking at your profile. So we can help with that too. Just a little plug.
I realize that we have been covering a lot of things and maybe nearing our wrap up. I think it's always helpful for students to hear from our employers advice. And so imagine that you're a student who's just getting started. Maybe you don't have any experience in Professor Mirza's class, and you are wondering, how you should, get that experience. What advice would you give a student who is maybe just getting interested in robotics? What kinds of things would you do to grow those skills?
Yeah, so I would definitely get involved in any clubs and engineering clubs or project teams where you can get experience, actually hands-on experience building things. A lot of experience that is really interesting to probably a lot of employers is just your ability to problem solve. And I think that getting involved in those types of projects, doing hands-on work, you're always going to have kind of hurdles you got to get over and solve problems. So anytime you can get experience doing that, that's really helpful. I also recommend students to get involved in different classes where you will have a strong programming component, a development component, and you can get involved in various competitions and things like that. Also helps because there you have you're throwing a problem and you've got to solve it quickly or try to really work through it. And I think those types of experiences help to build your kind of portfolio of what you've done, and it helps you to show your capability levels.
Great advice. Thank you. So are there any other questions that anyone has that we haven't covered so far?
Yeah, I actually have one more. Since KUKA is located, has several locations all over the world, I was wondering if you guys have a program that, allows traveling or, to go to Australia for a year or something like that.
Yeah, that's a good question. We have had students and we've hosted students from other countries. In the last year, obviously, none of that has happened due to all the restrictions. We don't necessarily have a formal program, but opportunities do come up, and when people are very interested in those opportunities or searching those out, there is a possibility to kind of follow those through.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think that we have finished our questions. And so I just want to say once again, thank you to Ed and to KUKA, not only for your time today, but the tremendous partnership that you have provided to Oakland University and the opportunities for our students and our graduates. I hope all of you will take advantage of the great insight and advice that he has shared. Don't hesitate to apply if you're interested. If you need help with your resume or applying, please meet with our career services team. We're here to help you. You really want to stand out because, KUKA is a top company and a lot of people are vying for those positions. And so you need to, make sure that you're preparing to stand out. As a reminder too, we in career services do practice interviewing with students. So if you've applied to this posting and you get notified that you are invited to an interview, we can help you be interview ready. And I strongly encourage you to do that. All you have to do is make an appointment with Career Services and Handshake to meet with us about resumes or to meet with us about interviews, and we'd be glad to help you. I think we have wrapped up what we're going to cover today. Thank you again, Ed. That was really, really helpful, the things that you shared for our students. And we look forward to seeing the next step in this process.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was really exciting, and we're excited to continue to build this partnership with Oakland, and we see a lot of exciting things coming in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
For the students, I'm going to linger on the call just a few minutes in case there's some quick questions. But I'm sure that y'all have other things that you have to get to today. So thank you for joining us and have a great day.
All right, thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Glad you could join us.
Thank you so much for attending.
Okay, so I'm going to end this so that I can finish the recording.